when we had talked about the drama starting and you had brought up the ages, well, if you're picking between the two and you had options, you would take the younger guy if they're both equal, right? One guy's 29, the other guy's 22. Just in that sense, a ceiling, no-brainer. Well, when the 49ers were not going to cut Brock Purdy once Jimmy came back. Why? People on Twitter were like, what do you guys because I tweeted like, Brock Purdy's making this team and Nate Sudfeld's getting a $2 million. Thank you. See ya. Enjoy your life. And who knows? Maybe they bring him back on practice squad, but you don't need 4 quarterbacks. 3's enough. Is that Kyle Shanahan loves Brock Purdy. That much is clear. That happened in the broadcast when those two guys, Greg Papa and Tim Ryan, started kind of rubbing poetic about how awesome Brock Purdy has been in the coaches' minds. Well, what does that mean? That, I don't know, the guy that runs the offense has been really impressed. So we knew that they liked him immediately right then, like the public did. Well, once Jimmy comes back, they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks because they are under no circumstances at the most important position in the NFL going to risk. Kyle has minions all over the NFL. And you and I talked about this the moment it was like, okay, Purdy's actually kind of interesting. Well, Kyle's not alone. Most quarterback coaches kind of think the same. Not every quarterback coach aspires to have like, Mahomes. They just want an accurate guy, especially at a backup quarterback. He was well liked in the coaching community. Now, a lot of places, the coaching community doesn't have that much pull in the front office, right? If you're a quarterback coach, the head coach and the GM, like, they'll take your opinion, but you don't get to make the pick. Well, you do have a little more juice once it's like, hey, guys, hearing my guy Brock Purdy's killing it, our backup quarterback. I watched, as someone that talked a lot of shit about the preseason, I probably watched an unhealthy amount of fourth quarters. And a lot of it loosely on in the background. But all of a sudden, I'd look up and it'd be like Cardinals, Titans, or Raiders, Patriots in the fourth quarter. Quarterback play is atrocious. I mean, a joke. And like most of those are third-string quarterbacks. Well, some of these teams now are keeping 3 quarterbacks. So this notion that Brock Purdy, could he have passed waivers? 100%. Was Kyle Shanahan, if he really liked him, going to risk it? When, again, all his minions are all over the NFL? No chance. Can you imagine if Kyle Shanahan really likes a guy? Like, I think we can get him to waivers. Well, he better make it to waivers, because if he doesn't and we lose him and someone claims him, I'm going to be fucking pissed. I have no problem, I don't know, cutting a 9th lineman. This guy plays quarterback. And if he can be a backup quarterback, we just saw it a couple weeks ago that, what's his name? Kevin O'Connell traded for Nick Mullins. Like, there are enough guys that kind of run a similarity of this offense that play with players like that, right? Just around the NFL. I would imagine I would have said probably 50-50 chance he would have got claimed.
Well, the chance is higher that he would have got claimed than Nate Sudfeld would have got claimed. And I think if you're Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, you have to prepare for the possibility that because Jimmy Garoppolo is now only $6.5 million, just because you didn't trade him today doesn't mean you won't trade him in October. If that situation arises, what do you have then at backup quarterback, right? You couldn't go with only 2 quarterbacks on your roster.
But if I told you just in general, if you and I ran a team and we had a guy that we had drafted end of the 7th round, right, Mr. Irrelevant, and he had blown us away and he plays quarterback, regardless of we're a powerhouse team, a shitty team, I'm not allowing that guy out of my building.
Well, you draft him because you like him. Then you play with him. You like him more. Why would you not keep him?
And he plays quarterback.
Well, yeah, he plays quarterback.
I think you can.
And unlike Sudfeld, he just, to me, when you said you thought Brock over Sudfeld, it made perfect sense because Sudfeld, whatever his peak is, he's probably around it. Now, could Kyle get a little more out of him? Maybe. But if you're Kyle at this point, you're thinking, can I turn Brock Purdy into my backup, a guy I can win 4 games with if something happens in the next couple of years with Trey, and Trey's my guy, a guy I trade for a 2nd or a 3rd round pick in the future, right? All of those things. Probably unlikely you trade him for a 2nd or 3rd, but having a backup quarterback you trust means a lot to these coaches. Well, especially the offensive coaches.
I think a big thing is like, well, they gave Nate Sudfeld.
And those guys are expensive, by the way. Sorry, John. The backup quarterbacks get expensive if you have the guy you really want, right? It's a few million bucks you're saving.
For sure. Well, they gave $2 million to Nate Sudfeld, but I just typed in the date. Part of it is the way the NFL calendar plays out. Would they have given Nate Sudfeld $2 million in the middle of the summer? Probably not. But they gave it to him on March 10th. Well, That's well before the draft. And at that time, they thought Jimmy was not going to be on their team. So it's easy to say, of course, if they could do that over again, they would not have given him the money. But at the time, they had to be looking at it. They probably weren't planning on drafting a quarterback. They clearly weren't. They drafted the guy at the end of the 7th round, literally the last pick of the draft. So they were probably thinking of like, we'll sign Nate, we'll have Trey, we'll trade or release Jimmy, and we'll probably get, we might have a chance at like the best undrafted free agent quarterback to sell him, hey, listen, we really like you. You can come here. At worst, you'll be our practice squatter, and you'll have a chance to compete for the number 2 job, right? That was, I'm sure, their mindset. So I never fault teams. It's always easy to look back and like, why'd you sign Mike Glennon? Well, we didn't know we were going to draft Josh Rosen. Or, it's so easy to play that game. If the draft was before or the Jimmy Garoppolo system, if the roles were reversed, it wouldn't have happened. You could say, probably got to give him $2 million. Well, they thought at the time, like, this is probably the best we can do as a backup, right?
Yeah. I liked Colt McCoy, who cost less, but whatever.
And maybe Colt was just so comfortable here, like for an extra couple $100,000, $750,000, but you factor in California taxes.
Yeah.
Some guys get very comfortable when they know they're really liked, but it feels like one of the better bargains in the league for the Arizona Cardinals.